Hi guys, today we're going to talk about installing some L-track, or what's referred to as airline track. Installing a track system seems to be pretty popular in any kind of van upgrade, and it's either going to be L-track or E-track, and you can go online and find out all the information. This L-track seems to look a lot cleaner, has some really cool accessories as far as your clip-ins. It's a lot smaller, looks sleeker, a little more low profile. The E-track is bigger, and one thing I know for sure is the attachments on the E-track definitely rattle more. Okay, so initially, when I was looking into doing this upgrade, there was a lot of confusion because there's different companies out there that make their own style of L-track. So I don't even know if L-track is the official name, but I've seen it referred to as L-track or airline track. So I ended up going with a company called Coretrax. I made sure I called, spoke to a representative, and asked them if the fittings were interchangeable, and he pretty much verified that they are. What you want to look for is you want to look for your spacing of your holes here. They're 1 inch on center. So with knowing that information, you could pretty much use another company's L-track version and their accessories. It comes with 2 tracks, 4 attachments. You just lift up on these and they pull out. Squeeze them like a syringe, and then they lock. All the hardware included with bolts, washers, and lock nuts. By installing this L-track or any kind of track system, it gives you the ability to, like we talked about, tie things down. For my application, I'm not going to be tying down really heavy loads. It's more for hanging things, so this allows you to hang anything you want using other accessories in inch increments. So it's very versatile. I see in the future maybe wanting to hang maybe a cabinet, overhead cabinet. The company makes a 3/8 bolt or threaded bolt that sticks out, and you can make your own bracket and attach your cabinet to it. To read the instructions are on here. They talk about a 600-pound rating per attachment point. Also on the specs, it talks about this system taking it to the failing point was about 2,000 pounds. And so they figure out that the working load, that 600 number, is calculated by using a 1/3 of that max rating, maybe that failing point number. People have ordered these without the pre-drilled holes, and they said it was a pain in the butt. So recommendation, purchase the ones that have the pre-drilled holes. It'll make your life easier. Also, make sure you got a good drill bit, because the drill bit I'm using is going through cold rolled steel. And as you can see, also, if you can, purchase the track that has a finish on it, whether it be a silver finish or the black finish. The best way to install this is with the hardware, where you through bolt it, and on the back side you're able to make access and add a washer and a lock nut. There's going to be some areas where you're not going to be able to access the back side. I purchased a rivet nut that allows you to insert a rivet when you're not able to access the backside, and it's a very strong hold with threads in it that allows you to still drive your bolt in but not have to access the back to put a nut in. This is where I'm planning to install my L-track. As you see here, there is a bit of access to the back, and I found a way using a knuckle on a socket kit to get back here. So my plan is to through bolt on each side all along the entire length. See here, there's not a lot of room down here to attach that L-track. So that's the reason why I found a 3-inch piece of cold roll steel that I'm gonna attach here, and the track will actually attach to that. So what's actually getting attached to the van is the actual 1/8 inch 3 by 3 inch cold roll steel flat bar running all along the length on both sides of the van. I made one cut here at the end. Looks like it's right on. So I can go ahead and mark on center where the rest of the openings are. Right here, 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 and here. I can take it back and make that same cut. Okay, so I kind of made a drawing here. Make sure I took my measurements. Some of these holes are off, so but for the most part they're 12 inches on center. And I cut out, I ended up tracing, making a little guide. This is a 1/8 by 3 inches wide. They call it a flat bar. Okay, this blade seems to be working a lot better than the one I used before. This one, you can see it says meant to cut 1/8 to 3/16 metal. Okay, so I'll keep going with this. Okay, so that Sawzall with the right blade worked really well. Moved pretty quick to make all my vertical cuts. Now this one's a little trickier because you got to get your blade in here. So we could either drill a hole and stick your blade in and work it that way. I'm going to try using my angle grinder in order to make a opening for my blade. Okay, I took the file and filed down all the edges just so I wouldn't cut myself. Let's go see how it fits. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Looks like we're pretty much there. And like I said, we're only leaving these open because the headliner has these fingers that help guide itself in. And that's how it gets itself in place. So I didn't want to cover them up. Because I'm able to access the back here, I'm going to bolt this through with a nylon locking nut on the back side. The first two closest to the rear doors, you just got to be careful because these are not 12 on center like the majority of them are. Like I said before, make sure you check your measurements. Check them twice before you cut. Good thing I did because I just noticed that, like I said, the first one starts off at 10 on center, then the next one is 10, and then the rest are 12 until you get to this section where the factory puts the two panels together, and we have 12 on center, and the following then is 10 on center, and then from that point on it's 12 once again. Okay, so here's my piece after coating it a couple times with some Rust-Oleum gray paint. Came out pretty nice. So I took both of these pieces and did a dry fit, and where the headliner comes down, you got to make sure it doesn't interfere. So on this side I marked where the headliner curves in. After tightening up, I cut the rest of the screw head using my Sawzall. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm doing a dry fit, and I installed some self-tapping sheet metal screws all along here to hold it in place, just to see where everything fits. Now, as you see here, there's going to be a couple areas like here where you can't fit a nut back here. So we'll have to figure something out, whether I use a sheet metal screw or some way to attach it to that flat iron, not necessarily attaching it to the van, just to the flat iron. For this longer piece, I got a little smarter. I was able to pre-drill all my holes first, because it's so much easier drilling down when the whole piece of metal is on the ground than having to drill sideways and above your head. I was using some Gorilla Tape on my finger. There's the nut. Get right behind there. This takes a little bit of hit or miss. Now to tighten it down, what I'm using is this knuckle adapter. Kind of curve it in. Or if it's close enough to your edge here, you can use something like this that has a little bit of an angle. Okay, so that's how it looks like with all the nuts and washers and lock nuts tightened up. Okay guys, here's the finished product. I think this Coretrax system is going to hold up very well. It turned out really nice. I know there's probably other ways to install this type of a track system. This was just the way that worked out best for my application. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, stand by for some more videos.